are the pieces and parts of this thing. One of the first ones I'll show you is, if we have any administrators on the call, I'll just briefly explain how this got set up. And so you do have to have a Gmail account. So if you're using Gmail email as your email engine today, you already have a Gmail account. And if you don't, they're free. You can sign up for a Gmail account. And they have corporate editions too. It doesn't really matter because this integration works with either solution. So there are two different points of integration that are happening between Saleslogix and Google. One of them is what we call Google Sync. And the Google Sync portion of this integration is responsible for synchronizing contacts, leads, calendar, and then history items, history and activity items. And we're synchronizing meetings and phone calls to the calendar, and we're synchronizing to-dos to the Google to-dos, or tasks they're called. So tasks in Google are to-dos in Saleslogix. Calls and meetings are calendar items in Google. So it does line up pretty nicely in that respect. Contacts are contacts, as you would also expect. But then the other one I want to show you is the email, which is Google Mail, or better known as Gmail. So there's a second point of integration that is responsible for copying emails from your Gmail, matching them on the email in Saleslogix, and then creating a history record in exactly the same way you're used to that happening today in Saleslogix. So your Google Mail emails that you tag appropriately are going to become a brand new history record, just as they do today with those of you using the Outlook integration. Okay, let me show you a couple other back-end components here, and one of them is sync history. This kind of stuff is not what a user would probably care about, but as an administrator, this screen, the sync history, allows you to monitor what's flowing back and forth between Saleslogix and Google. And so you do see literally a play-by-play of everything that's synchronized today. And you can see that there are different groups that you can build that allow you to slice and dice the sync data. So these entries are just showing you what happened and if anything failed. And you can see there's things like nothing changed, or okay, a new calendar item synced, there was a conflict. And if you update something, calendar item in Google Calendar or Saleslogix, those changes do trigger an update. So it does update both systems. Doesn't care where you started or where you made the change. They're just going to stay in sync for you through this back-end mechanism. So I want to talk a little bit more about how do you set it up. And there's really two parts to setting this thing up. One of them is very much like what you did or do with the Outlook integration for contacts. You set up an ad hoc group for Google Sync. And so I established an ad hoc group that represented the Saleslogix contacts that I wanted in my Google contacts list, and there are 5 of them. So once I establish this group, I'm pretty much all set. And so any contact records I add to that sync group are going to automatically be added into my Google. And then the other thing that happens here is each user has to authorize or create an authorization between Google Mail and then Google Sync, again, which is your calendar items. And so if I hadn't done that yet, these blue buttons under my options would say unauthorized. And if I clicked on them, it would open up an authorization window, basically asking me to agree to allow Saleslogix to synchronize with my Google account. That's a one-time thing. So once that has been established, your synchronization should just automatically start. Now, one other thing I think I should mention is the synchronization is not in real time. It is batch-based. So as the administrator in Saleslogix, you get to choose the sync interval. I set mine really low for the demo so we could see things happening near real time, but that's as frequently as you can make it go. If you're a large company with lots of calendar items, that might be a little overwhelming for your job server service or whatever server it's running on. So maybe you would pick a more manageable 5-minute, 10-minute, 30-minute interval, whatever is appropriate for your company. But this is a global option that affects all the users, and that's how often does it check and synchronize data if anything is new that needs to be updated. And same thing happens with the Google Sync. You can set the interval, and it can be different than mail. Maybe you want mail to be more frequent. It's up to you. Okay, so how does it exactly work? So if we look at the calendar in my Saleslogix system, and I've got one, I'm the administrator, so that's the blue items. And if I look at that same calendar for today in Gmail now, you'll notice I have in my browser another tab open. You don't have to, but you can. So I basically leave a tab open in my browser that shows me my calendar. So here is that test for demo activity sitting in Google's calendar that marries up to this very same activity in Saleslogix. So those two happen as a result of synchronizing. And again, it doesn't matter where I created it. This is probably a good time to mention, too, that reoccurring activities are currently not supported and do not sync. So I am still using a beta version here, and there is a more sophisticated version coming. And Saleslogix has big plans for this to also eventually include Google Docs. What's significant about that is we've now broken away from the dependency on Word for mail merging. So that's not going to be in the first release, but it is on the roadmap. So that's going to be part of this integration as well. Can't show you that today. But so anyway, here's the week of March 23rd through the 29th. And if I back up in Google Calendar, you'll see those exact same meetings sprinkled around on here, just exactly the same. So they get there. You don't have to do anything special. Just like in Saleslogix, you can drag and drop, drag across the calendar here, and we'll just call this test 2 and create the event. And then once the synchronization runs, this Friday activity will show up in my Saleslogix. So we'll check back here once it runs. I can also see, as the administrator back in Saleslogix, you have this job notification area, and this tells you that the job server service is running and doing what you're expecting it to do. So you can see that it's doing things like polling email and checking for emails it needs to copy into Saleslogix. So if there's any problem here, a failure or something didn't work right, you would see that showing up here. So throughout the day, every time the sync runs, it generates one of these new notifications to let you know that it's healthy, it's running, the sync is happening as you would expect. So that's what that's for. Now also back here in the calendar, you'll notice here over on the right are my tasks. And these are also, again, synchronizing to to-dos in Saleslogix. So I do have 2 to-dos in Saleslogix. Those are timeless, and they're showing up on my task list over here in Gmail. So now let's take a look at the email client, which is Gmail. Now you'll notice that this is where you can see your contacts. So we've got Don, John, Keith, Nicholas, and Zenobia, if I'm saying that right. And if I go to my contacts in Saleslogix and click on my Google Sync ad hoc group, here's those same people. And again, I can edit them here. I can add new ones to this sync group, and the result of that is those changes are going to update in both directions here in Gmail or in the Google contacts. And then you can go back to Gmail. Now here's where it, to me, is really a significant part of what's kind of neat about how this is working. you'll notice that in my inbox here that I have these tags. So if you're using Gmail today, this makes sense to you. If not, the way that an email synchronizes back to Saleslogix and creates a record is based on tagging it. So you tag these emails in Gmail, and you'll notice that some of these already have a tag. So it's telling me that this email and this email and this email have already been recorded successfully in Saleslogix. And if you get a new email in here, and if you change the tag, that will cause the email to record in Saleslogix. Now, you can set up tags to be automatic in Gmail. So if you are using Gmail exclusively for business purposes, and you simply want it to always record emails you are getting or sending, you can have it flag them automatically. But if I choose to flag this as a Saleslogix email, the next time the sync runs, it's going to copy that into Saleslogix, create a history record, and change the tag for me to Saleslogix recorded. That's how I know it succeeded at creating the history record. Okay, pretty cool stuff. Now let's take a look at it from the other perspective here. And let's go into John Abbott's contact record in Saleslogix. Now I've set up my default email client to be Gmail. It used to be Outlook, now it's Gmail. So what's going to happen is if I click to send John Abbott an email from Saleslogix, it's going to open up a new window for Gmail. And it's going to automatically be linked to that John Abbott contact record because it's going to bring in his email address as who it's going to, you see? So it automatically put in his email address. I can put in, whatever I want here. And then remember, the last step is to set the tag to record Saleslogix, or in this case, send Saleslogix. And now when I send the email, Gmail's going to send the email. The next time the sync runs, it's going to copy that email into Saleslogix history, and you'll see that in there. So once you send the email, you just click the back button, and it takes you back to Saleslogix, no big deal. And so those emails will show up in here, test from Gmail. Here's another one. This is the test. So these are, again, showing up in here just like you're accustomed to today through Outlook. Works very much the same way.